Well, welcome back. We've been looking at the particular type of cellular reproduction that occurs in reproductive organs or sexual reproduction. We've been focusing on this process of meiosis. But all the while, you may have been wondering, with all the detail that we focused on, what's the real benefit? Well, this is where we focus on the primary benefit, and that is genetic diversity. When we study mitosis, we emphasized again and again that mitosis is very good at producing exact copies of the parent cells in the daughter cells. Genetically speaking, they're identical. This is not the case in the cells that are produced during the process of meiosis. When we look at human beings as our example, we each have 46 chromosomes, and they come in pairs, we mentioned, but we only contribute half that number in the gametes, the egg and sperm that we see pictured here. There's only 23 chromosomes in each sperm. There's only 23 chromosomes that are contributed in each egg. Together, in the process of fertilization, that's going to combine and result in a new individual that has the full 46 chromosomes. But those chromosomes in meiosis sort independently of each other. In other words, chromosome 1 doesn't really follow what chromosome 2 or 18 does. And so they're going to sort into each of their various gametes in many, many different combinations. That's what we mean by independent assortment. We'll take a look at crossing over that further contributes to genetic diversity. Let me explain. Sexual reproduction produces unique combinations of genes. Sexual reproduction is going to create unique combinations of genes through a random and independent assortment of chromosomes in meiosis. In other words, none of those chromosomes are going to determine or control what other chromosomes they're sorted with into a particular gamete, into a particular egg, into a particular sperm. And so we have this random assortment, this random combination of those chromosomes and all the characteristics they carry. And so think about it. Mom produces, you have pictured here. Let's say this is mom. She produces a potential combinations of 2 to the 23rd power gametes. Okay? Because she has 23 kinds of chromosomes and they come in pairs. So does dad. Okay? So we have, from the result of this independent assortment then, we have 2 to the 23rd combinations coming from each parent. There is as well the random fertilization of the gametes. Which one of those sperm is actually going to fertilize the egg? There is no predictable way. There's completely random, humanly speaking and mathematically speaking. There's no way of predicting which of those sperm is going to fertilize which particular egg. And so theoretically, the product of these two numbers is going to tell us the number of genetically unique individuals that can result from one particular couple. Wow, that's a large number. We'll take a look in a moment. And so unique phenotypes, in other words, expressed traits, may give a reproductive advantage to some organisms. Out of all this abundance of diversity, some are going to have better advantages than others are. And so when we look out, in any group of people, is it really any wonder why they're all so different from each other? Think about the siblings in your own family. You are so different in your personality type, in your appearance, certainly in your gender. That can happen. Well, what is 2 to the 23rd times 2 to the 23rd? Why don't you break out a calculator and figure that out? Have you done it? This is my number, over 70 trillion. Just from one couple, over 70 trillion possible combinations. Isn't that something? So really then when you look at that, there's really no surprise in the genetic diversity that we find, even within one family. We have another event that takes place during meiosis that is going to further increase genetic diversity, and it's something known as crossing over. We've discovered that there's an exchange of chromosome segments that occur between homologous chromosomes. Let me wind back for a second. Remember, homologous chromosomes are those that fit together like pairs of shoes. They're closely related. You got one from dad, you got one from mom. When you look at them, they look very similar, but they actually contain genetic traits that are distinct from each other because they came from different families. And what we've discovered as we've studied these is that there's an exchange of information that kind of looks like this. You have two chromosomes that are homologous, and they pair up with each other during Prophase I. We refer to these as a tetrad. Let's write that down. Tetrad. Okay? Now, during Prophase I, in Meiosis I, these can slightly entangle each other that you see pictured here. And what results then is an actual swapping out of those segments of chromosomes so that then in the end result, you have a recombination and reattachment of these homologous chromosomes. Well, in the end, what that does, therefore, is that it introduces a tremendous amount of variation that can occur and how these actual genes within the chromosomes recombine. And so that 70 trillion number is really the bare minimum of possible recombinations that occur. And of course, the benefit to the species that we're speaking of is that the greater the recombination, the greater the genetic diversity, the greater probability that we have that there's going to be organisms that are going to be successful as they survive in varying different types of environments. So is it really any wonder that you find so many different varieties of apples, so many different varieties of fishes, of dogs, for example? This is where it all comes down. Well, listen, it's been great discussing this with you. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.